Hello, thanks for watching this video. Today we are going to talk about the 7 key similarities between Chinese and English languages. Many of my students have told me that learning Chinese is so different. You will notice a significant difference if you compare English and Chinese or listen to the languages. There is no resemblance in the writing or the way they sound. You may wonder whether there are any parallels between English and Chinese and, if so, how they may assist. As you begin to learn a new language, recognizing similarities and being able to link them to your home language may help make the learning process go more smoothly. Furthermore, when you can tie a new language to what you already know, it becomes easier to learn and recall information when you speak the new language. We'll look at the top 7 similarities between English and Chinese. Are there any similarities between Chinese and English? Undeniably, yes. Chinese and English are languages and civilizations from distinct families. They have very different writing styles, sentence structures, and terminology. Learning the other language will be complex. However, Chinese students are fortunate that Pinyin has been developed. Pinyin is a Chinese translation method using 25 European letters. The V is never used. Although they vary in several ways, Chinese Pinyin and English pronunciation are almost identical in most cases. Chinese syllables have 3 parts: the starting sound, the final sound, and the tone. The first sounds are consonants, while the latter includes at least one vowel. Some syllables only have a beginning or a final sound. There are 21 starting sounds, 35 ending sounds, and 413 potential combinations in Chinese. Using the 4 tones of Mandarin Chinese, we obtain around 1,600 distinct syllables. Examine the pronunciations. Don't be afraid if you intend to work on them. Examine the pronunciations that are similar to English. There are several instances of initial sounds. B, P, M, and F are essentially identical to English letters, save for a stronger exhalation. Because the vowel A is often used to sound A, let's test a couple of combinations. B plus A equals BA. Sounds identical to Ba, meaning father, if you ignore the tones. Ma is the same way. Another example, SH and CH are simple for English speakers. Remember the noises of the washer and the church? Try Cha with Charles to assist you. Many examples like this will undoubtedly save significant time in studying Chinese Mandarin. Please feel free to begin learning English since it will be beneficial and enjoyable. Sentence structure. In Chinese, the fundamental sentence structure is identical to English, which is the subject-verb-object. When we learn a new language, we usually do a lot of translating before we say anything. It gets easier for new learners with a comparable sentence form. Vowel and consonant sounds. Both languages use vowel and consonant sounds, and their placement is comparable. Both languages feature vowels that arrive amid a word and at the end, making those 2 positions the most common for vowel sounds. Expressing in the past tense. In English, ed is mainly employed to represent a verb in the past tense, which is comparable to how the Chinese express the past tense. Use of monosyllabic and bisyllabic words. Though both languages have a large repertoire of multisyllabic words, both utilize many monosyllabic and bisyllabic terms in spoken language. Homophones. There are several homophones in both languages. The terms have a similar sound but have distinct meanings. The majority of the time, the purpose is deduced from the context. Loan words. English contains many loan terms, and new words are added to the dictionary every year. Though the Chinese are thought to resist outside influence, loan words may be discovered due to globalization. Use of metaphors. Learning a language aids in comprehending a population's culture. Both English and Chinese make use of metaphors with similar meanings. For example, in English, the term fox is connected with cunning and is used similarly in Chinese. Expressions such as fat as a pig and busy as a bee have the same meaning in both languages. Consider terms like weight, symbolically connected with significance in both English and Chinese. It may need a deeper comprehension of the information, but studying them may aid in greater reputability and understanding of the underlying meanings of specific terms. Mandarin Chinese or English, which is more difficult to learn? There has long been discussion regarding which languages are the most difficult to learn. If you're a native English speaker, you've undoubtedly heard which languages are the most difficult to understand. It is a popular question posed by Chinese individuals on the Chinese internet. Unsurprisingly, English is one of the most often given replies. But which language is harder to learn, English or Mandarin Chinese? Indeed, there is one that is objectively more difficult to pick up than the other. There is no conclusive answer to this issue since it depends on your mother language and other factors. Because the two languages are so dissimilar, native speakers on both sides argue that the other is more challenging to learn. Is there evidence that English is easier to learn than Mandarin Chinese? The Wellcome Trust's Sophie Scott performed brain scans on study participants as they talked in their native language. The Chinese participants in the research communicated in Mandarin using both sides of their brains. Only the left temporal lobe was used when the English individuals started to speak and listen. The right side of the brain handles intonation and melody. Since Mandarin is a tonal language, it requires the use of both sides of the brain to comprehend it. So, according to this research, learning Mandarin Chinese requires you to engage more of your brain. Is it, however, harder to learn than English, according to this study? Even though English and Chinese are significantly different, it is interesting to hear how their native speakers describe the other language. Difficult aspects of learning Mandarin Chinese. The writing method. If you were to learn how to handwrite 1,000,000 Chinese characters, how long do you think it would take you? A very long time. The most time-consuming and rewarding component of studying Mandarin Chinese is learning to write Chinese characters, yet this also has the least practical use. That is why most international students avoid it. However, you want to be understood and used in both spoken and digital contexts. In that case, you will need to recognize and pronounce characters, even if you have yet to learn to write them by hand. Teaching yourself to write the 26 letters of the English alphabet is a far more manageable task. Monosyllabic sounds. In Mandarin Chinese, each letter represents a smaller set of monosyllabic sounds. Consider the sounds, which may indicate a variety of things based on their tone or character. It complicates matters since you must teach your ear to be attentive to tones and context, but what if two words have the same pronunciation and tone? If so many words in a language sound the same, it must be impossible to learn. Tones. From our perspective, many native English speakers studying Mandarin overestimate the importance of tones. Tone needs clarification on many new learners since this is the first time they have had to consider them. They come quickly as you devote more time to the language. Each new Mandarin Chinese word requires you to memorize a character and a precise pronunciation that considers a tone system. Some may argue that it is easier than you assume, but it is far from simple. Accents. It is challenging for language students, but accented Mandarin adds additional problems and hurdles. To begin with, China is enormous. The Chinese people speak different dialects of Mandarin from city to city, town to town, and even village to village. Second, alterations in the pronunciation of monosyllabic words with fewer sounds make understanding considerably more difficult. For example, if someone speaks window with a strange accent, it still sounds like the particular word window in English. Suppose someone pronounces sure as si, as is usual in southern China. In that case, it opens up a plethora of other viable Mandarin Chinese phrases. Third, in our many years in China, we've only encountered a few individuals willing to slow down their speech to assist us in learning Mandarin. Those were our professors, and everyone else refuses to engage you in Mandarin or talk at their typical 1,000 mph rate. Difficult aspects of learning English. Grammar. Grammar is the most basic component of learning Mandarin Chinese. Compared to Chinese grammar, English grammar is genuinely crazy. Conjugation of verbs, tenses, plurals, exceptions to already complex grammar rules, and so on do not exist in Mandarin Chinese. It's one of the many reasons why grammar is so essential in English classes in China. Most Chinese individuals find English's complex grammar its most significant challenge. Pronunciation. Don't assume that just because you know the letters of the alphabet, you know all the sounds in the English language. Long and short vowel sounds, diphthongs, silent letters, and other frustrations are unnecessary. The English language, for example, includes 19 vowel sounds. That may not seem like much, but there are only 5 vowels to spell them with. Consequently, words like good, meal, and blood all have distinct vowel sounds. You may have never considered this issue before because of your natural language proficiency. It is a massive pain in the rear for a Chinese person learning English. Intonation and stress. Tones do exist in Mandarin Chinese. However, English speakers are famous for employing variations in their voices to convey distinct meanings. Suppose you've mastered understanding these variations in spoken English. In that case, you now face the additional barrier of comprehending these nuances in writing. Accents. Americans have the decency not to drastically alter their accents throughout the nation, making it simpler for English learners to understand them. English has RP, received pronunciation, but only a tiny fraction of the population uses it. There is a wide range of prominent language differences over the little island. You can travel an hour from your house in England and hear individuals with completely distinct accents. Also, the English enjoy jargon, and many towns and cities in England have their distinct collection of slang. Conclusion. Due to the evident character system of writing and a wholly distinct tonal language, Chinese is an extremely difficult language to learn for natural English speakers. However, keeping an open mind is essential while learning a new language, and focusing on similarities helps.